world? What is up? Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Matt Forte. We are here live at the Build Studio in New York City. Our next guest star in the WGN America original series, Gone, which premieres this Wednesday at 9 p.m. The show tells the story of Lannigan, the survivor of a famous child abduction case. Years later, she finds her calling when the FBI persuades her to join a special task force dedicated to solving abductions. This show's awesome. It's intense, suspenseful, has one of the most badass female lead characters introduced this season. Here to tell us all about it, two of the greats, my friends, Leven Rambin and Pino are in the house. How about that? Make some noise. Come on, make a little bit of noise. Perfect. That is the exact amount of noise I was looking for. We're gonna bring them out in just a second, but before we do, real quick, I believe we have a peek at the show, so let's go ahead and run that clip.
Well, I don't see very many bikes around here. Not a lot of kids living near here.
Predators want to live near kids.
No. Kids notice other kids in a way that adults don't. So if a new kid moves onto the street, all the other kids know.
You moved around a lot while you were gone. So, does the house look right?
If you're hiding someone, you want a tall fence or a hedge. You see those big trees? We couldn't even see the house till we were right on top of it. This big basement. Boarded up windows. You're asking me what it looks like. It looks like a wolf's den.
Ladies and gentlemen, make a ridiculous amount of noise from Gone. Leven Rambin and Pino are in the house. Come on. Oh my gosh. Congratulations on this awesome show. I was saying backstage, it's right in my wheelhouse. I'm excited to talk about making it and all the fun things that make it special and unique. But before we get to any of that, how you guys doing? How's life? How's Danny?
I just woke up from a little nap backstage.
Nice.
Danny's voice was just like he's doing a phone interview and so soothing.
Yeah.
Like,
she just
He's
called
like
me
Morgan
boring.
Freeman's God voice.
No, there's a difference between soothing and boring. I will say that.
It's like Morgan Freeman's God voice. It's just like everything is good in the universe.
That is high praise.
I'll take it.
It's true.
Thank you.
Have you done any audiobooks that I'm unaware of?
I have done audiobooks in the past.
Have you do a lot of vocal reads, a lot of VO work right now. Yeah.
You know, I'm mostly known for reading Harry Potter to my kids.
Oh, can you read me a story at night? Like, it would help me sleep.
It's an adorable answer. Thank you.
Well, it's the
true.
truth.
No, it's true.
I was trying to win points, but it was also true.
It is.
Yeah, a little bit of both. You can win points and be honest at the same time.
Yeah.
Just
I
did
think
it.
I achieved it.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you.
Well, that's great. I'm happy to hear that, and I'm happy you're here. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule to come hang out with us and talk about this show. I'm really excited. Interesting journey on this one. You guys made it about 2 years ago, right? And then it did really well over in Europe, and now we're finally getting a U.S. release date. It's really exciting. Is that a hard part of the business? This happens often. Sometimes you guys will work on something, you'll put a lot into something, and it might not come out as quickly as you want it to. You got to wait a little while longer than you'd think you'd have to wait. Is that weird for you to do that? And then like to revisit this thing that you worked on a little while ago and see, oh yeah, we did that. You were wearing virtually the same jacket.
You know what's interesting is that I hadn't realized that I was until I walked out here, and it's not the same jacket, but it's very similar, and I actually think it's the same designer who makes both. Yeah, I think it is. But when I saw it, I was like, that's a faux pas, right? That's like, yeah, but it's not the same jacket.
No one here is going to judge you. I promise you that.
Well, okay, thank you guys.
We are
Great
though,
either way.
caveat, we are live on the internet. So
but the internet never says anything mean.
not yet. Not that I've read.
No.
But yeah, so just is that just like a weird part of the business? Like you'll put your heart and soul into something, and then you got to wait a little longer than you think for to talk about it with the rest of the world.
Yeah, this was like my baby, and I like put myself through the ringer for this. And then there was one point where they were like, "It's not going to come out in America at all," and I was heartbroken. Yeah, this was a particular instance because it was produced by France and Germany, and they were trying their hand at production. And luckily, the material was amazing, and that's what attracted us both to this. Not the fact that it was going to be seen or not. You know, we just had faith, and I do think that the timing now is perfect because we shot this before like the Me Too movement and the feminist kind of push in in media. So I think it's actually better timing right now. So it worked out.
Yeah, well, thank heavens, WGN America this Wednesday. America's finally going to get to see it at 9 p.m. Very exciting. Something I was curious about. You've called this, and I agree, that one of the most bad, if not the most badass female you've gotten to play. Was this similar for you, Leven, with like Lost Child, where you sought it out, or did this role find you? How did you?
I think like the universe and I co-conspired to attract this role to me. So yeah, it was both sought out and brought to me. A little bit of both, but I mean, I had to prove myself in both of those areas. But I did, and here I am.
Danny, you talked about this last time you were here. No stranger to playing a man with a badge, but you also talked about how every one of those characters, they're human, they're different, they're unique. What was it about Bishop that you were excited to sink your teeth into, and that made him stand out amongst the other law enforcement individuals you may have played over the years?
I told my team that I wasn't interested in playing another police officer unless it was something very special.
Interesting.
So knowing that and receiving this script, it needed to stand out for me probably more so than any other script. I think the fact that Chelsea Cain wrote such a compelling novel called One Kick, and it really fleshes out these characters, certainly Kick is highlighted in the novel, but then John Bishop is also such a prominent character and given such a solid foundation. I thought, man, this is somebody who I would love to be given a chance to play. And then when Matt Lopez adapted it for television, and America's Chris Noth was attached to it. Actually, his head is that size. That's actually life size.
The actual size
Yeah,
of his head.
yeah. In case you were wondering,
Miss you.
yeah, he has a normal sized body. His head is that big. To go back into the world where you're solving crimes, it was something that I didn't take lightly. The fact that this show is really character driven, not crime driven, is something that I thought was attractive to me.
And you kind of touched on it in that there, but like, how helpful is it when you have a book like One Kick that is kind of the backbone of it to help you guys sort of fill in the blanks on stuff that maybe isn't written on the page for screen? You can go to it. Did you guys find yourselves going back to that almost as like a way to kind of color things in a little bit more and give a little more detail to what you were bringing to your performance?
Yeah, it was an amazing resource, wealth of detail and richness that you can't squeeze into like a 60-page script. And Chelsea, has a extremely vivid and detailed imagination, and she clearly did her research on it. So there was just a lot of personal, backstory and relationship stuff, and that really helped my performance a lot. And we had built in a lot of history, between us, and that kind of made these little moments spark and crackle in between the lines or things that aren't written. So it was awesome to have that to play off of.
Did you guys do like little book club meetings, the two of you get together and just kind of go
Sorta.
through? Yeah.
We don't talk about book club, right?
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you
First
don't talk
rules of
about
book club.
dude.
That was something
Don't
I
talk about it.
overheard.
Yeah, you
and
blew up
very
the
rude of
spot.
me to-
No.
I apologize.
It's dangerous.
I don't know
It's
what I don't know what
dangerous.
you're talking about.
Yeah.
Were there to be one? Would you enjoy engaging in such an activity?
We did swap titles often, but it was like How to Catch a Pedophile. It was like those kinds of titles that you don't necessarily want to keep revisiting. In terms of One Kick, in terms of the novel, I took extensive notes as I read the novel. So I never revisited it once I read it, but I had all of the notes that I needed, not only on Kick and her experience, but on Bishop and why he chose to do what he does. And if you've read the novel and you watch the show, you'll see that there is a difference between the Bishop in the novel and the Bishop in our show, just like there's a difference between the Kick in the novel and the Kick in the show. But since we based our characters on the novel initially, we kept bringing it back to the fundamentals of what you find in the novel, which, as you point out, is so rich. You have just so much more territory to cover in terms of internalizing what the character's thinking and why they're thinking that and what their history is in the novel versus showing it on screen. So it was kind of an embarrassment of riches to have that as your foundation.
Sometimes shows will have like a show Bible or things of that nature, but when you have a book like that that's already been conceived of as its own experience, its own version of telling that story, that, like you said, there's so many details in there that you can kind of mine. This is also an intensely physical role for both of you, Leven especially. Of the 4 episodes I watched, I think at least 3 of them start with you just straight up working out, just like going all in, be it in the dojo or doing something intense, to say nothing of the fight scenes and all that. In fact, like the first time you two meet, you're just beating the hell out of each other. And it's a really engaging scene, the way it builds and sort of the crescendo to that moment. And I'm curious, did you guys, was that the first scene you guys filmed? Did you shoot out of sequence? What was that like? And talk me through, let's start with just that scene in particular, building up to that moment where you two kind of go at it one-on-one.
Well, when we first met in person at all, like, we were in Los Angeles and we were beginning fight training because we needed to start that choreography. And from the minute we met, it was like Kick and Bishop. And like, we just didn't.
Found it right away.
We found it right away, yeah. And we knew I was very like KG to him. And it worked. And then that sort of, that physicality of that aggressiveness sort of became how we communicated in a way and was like the jumping off point for our relationship. And then, you know, I just continued to kick your ass every day after that.
She's exaggerating. Yeah, every other day is when she kicked my ass, and the days off was just because I needed to heal.
How long was that fight training and that sort of that process of building the skill set? And were you drawing comparisons? Like when you worked on Hunger Games, you had to learn stuff that I'm sure you hadn't done before.
Yeah.
Did any of that transfer with you when you got into this world?
Yeah, I think from that and Percy Jackson and Chasing Maverick, I mean, everything I do in Lost Child even has been very physically engaging. And I think it's just because I'm so like aggressive and like that I end up being attracted to roles that are very physical and powerful. And so with Kick, though, she's, you know, reacting to this trauma from her past. And the only way that she can really get control is by taking control of her body again and protecting herself with her karate and her MMA and all of her physical skills that she does. And then she teaches young girls karate to sort of avenge that generation and herself as a little girl is how I kind of saw it. And she's very protective, like literally physically protective and emotionally protective of herself. So that's how she doesn't really let anyone in because she's like, I will kick your ass before you even like get close to me, which I can relate to. So it took, you know, it was a huge part of the character's my character's mentality and language to be so physical. So that was huge for me.
Do you have a conversation like that with your trainer or your choreographer? Or are they like, here's judo, and then you got to go back to the set and like, okay, how does Kick apply these moves, and how does Kick internalize these motions? Is she more of a cagey person? Is she more?
It was like just her physicality was so different from me walking into to a room. It was like, how does Ronda Rousey walk into a room? How does somebody who has been, you know, attacked by men look at men and walk and talk and be? And that's a lot different than me, thank God. I've never had that. So, you know, yeah, there would be like times where I'm like, Kick would not hug this person. I cannot sit here. You know, I can't be in this crowd. This would trigger, you know, these things. So those were conversations that we had with the creators and stuff, like just to be true to the situation.
And Denny, so you were saying the first time you guys kind of got together was in the fight training and learning that stuff. Did you guys go through all of it together? Did it veer? Did you do? Well, you both are pretty experienced with arms in the show, so I guess you both had to go through weapons training and everything as well, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we did that
absolutely.
together. That was fun.
Yeah, weapons training. Certainly, you know, Bishop having a military background, military intelligence, West Point. You know, when some of this show, you know, you'll find us clearing a house, right? So it has to look tactical, like we've done this over and over and over again, especially for John Bishop. So, you know, we trained and we talked about it a lot, the concepts behind clearing a house, what you're looking for, what not to do, right? And then we had experienced police officers, military trained on set on the day. And so when you were done clearing the house, you'd look over beyond the cameras and you'd see a thumb go up, like, or you'd go, right? So we'd have to fix it. We were going for authenticity. We're not interested in making it theatrical. We wanted it to look real. And so when our fight coordinator, the choreographer, was putting it all together, what does somebody who's military trained, how does he fight as compared to somebody who is teaching, Shotokan karate, right? Or kung fu? How do those styles kind of contrast? And so what move would Bishop throw and what would be the counter that Kick would throw, right? So it got down to that, the specificity of that. And we wanted it, because that's how, these people respond in their world, is physically. And so for us to meet, working out, for us to meet, and the first thing that we do is throw punches at each other, that was
Poignant.
Yeah, it's kind of, emblematic of their relationship.
Yeah, there's an honestness to that fight, and there's sort of a brutal intensity that you don't get often in a televised choreographed fight sequence, which is why I've spent so much time on it, because it's so great the way you guys sell it together.
Thank you.
Did you? You're human. Did you hit each other by accident at any point? Any slip-ups? Any?
Yeah, I got
Be
you.
honest. Be honest.
I got you a couple times.
Thank you. Yeah, she tagged me like 3 times, like straight. And you know what?
That's not bad. 3? How long was that shoot? You only got hit 3 times?
The reality is we didn't have a lot of time to shoot that. What you see, we had incredible stand-ins. People who are just stunt people who are fantastic. Whenever they served for us as kind of the inspiration. Whenever we saw them run our part, we were like, oh, that's how it's supposed to look, right?
Oh,
That's it. But actually, more like that. Yeah, do it that next time.
Yeah, exactly.
Fun fact, right? Do you remember what happened when we first got to set? So we had rehearsed this somewhere else, right? We finally got to the set, to her dojo.
Floors were like slip and slides.
They
were like,
repainted the
no.
floors, and it felt like you were on ice. And I don't know if you've ever tried to fight on ice before, but it is not conducive to traction, right?
And I was sick as a dog.
What'd you do?
It's a nightmare. I think we put like chalk on our feet or something.
Well, they had to delay the day that we were going to shoot it, right? So we ended up not shooting it on that day and trying to rough it up so that we can actually do it and not get hurt.
Bunch of PAs just running back and forth with cleats, just trying to
Just shredding it.
Just shredding the floor.
At the end of the day, we just didn't have a lot of time to shoot it. So a lot of what you see in the fight, it's us.
Wow.
And
flopping around.
yeah, it's not our stunt doubles.
That's pretty amazing. We're gonna throw over in just a second. We've got some questions from Twitter and from our audience in the room. But we mentioned a little bit about the rest of the cast, but talk about working with the rest of your team on this show. You guys work so well together. There's so many great people on the team, and it's the set that you guys have, like your little command center. I wanted to ask a question about that, but just what's it been like? What was it like working with that little family that you guys developed?
We had such a fun time. Chris is like the funniest man I've ever met. Like, you wouldn't think that, but he's so self-deprecating and raunchy and irreverent and like brash, but also so graceful and so inclusive of everyone, but just like loud and unapologetic and bold. And he always would just storm into the set with some hilarious one-liners and stuff and just keep us cracking up. And we never took the material like too heavy. I mean, I would sometimes get too heavy and then they would just make me laugh. And like Andy Mientis plays James, who also is a survivor of abduction, and then Tracy Toms and Danny Pino? Daniel?
Yeah,
Never heard of him.
How's it going?
Danny.
Thank
He was on
Thank you. Yeah,
some cop show.
that was on all.
On some cop. You said some cop show.
I was in every cop show.
Yeah, he was. I believe it was all the cop.
All the shows.
He was in all the cop shows.
We would get goofy and funny and start singing and dancing, and Tracy Thoms and I would and you would bust out into Aladdin and crack us up.
I'm sorry. Let's go ahead and spend 10 minutes on that. You'd bust out into.
Yeah,
By
this
the way,
guy's like a
to our Twitter
theater
user,
buff.
I'm just going to real quick because I see the question. We're ruining your question. They wanted to know, how'd you have fun or lighten the mood on set when dealing with such heavy topics? And I figured while we were going to get in, because we're going to talk about this Aladdin thing, before Iana lost her time, I wanted to get to the question. So we're kind of answering that right now, but you're welcome in advance for, you did what with Aladdin, Danny? Go on.
Well, thank you, Leven. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome.
Tracy Thoms and I, we go back a ways to Cold Case, and so she's as close to a family member as I can imagine having on set. And we took a magic carpet ride. I'm not ashamed to say that we did a little duet. It's a whole new
not
world.
A little one, a few big.
But we
ones.
went for it. We went for it. Yeah.
I have videos. I'll send them in.
Yeah, that's what. Next time you're coming in, you got to send those in advance. Rather Danny's going to be here or not. The last thing I wanted to ask Danny, we joked about you being on all the cop shows, but in your expertise, where do you rank this the set that you guys have? Like your jet. Like office home base is so awesome. It's it looks so cozy and yet so conducive to working. So I'm curious, in your head, in the realm of televised home bases, where does that rank for you?
Well, I gotta say, it is pretty high tech. It's kind of like a precinct, but the most high tech precinct you've ever seen, and it's portable, right? So, it ranks pretty high, but I also miss the kind of the coffee stained, looked a little smelly, precinct on SVU, and certainly the one, on Cold Case as well, that had a feel of authenticity. I don't know. I gotta say that they're all even.
They're all
Is that
evenly
politically?
matched?
That's political.
You could do that. That's
All right,
fine.
we'll go.
There was a moment for me. I was watching it. You guys were all having. I forget what episode. It was 2 or 1 or towards the end of 1. But you're in this loungy corner and you're having takeout. But the place had matching flatware to go with the command center. You had all these classy
Bougie.
plates. It was super bougie. I was like, this
Bougie.
is how the FBI rolls.
This is look. We're feds now.
Yeah.
This is where
Right.
taxpayer dollars
Yeah,
are going.
these are
Okay.
That's where it's going.
Federal.
That's where it's going.
Those square plates. That's how they get you. How many we got, Kate? We got 2 in the room? Fantastic. All right, we got 2 questions in the room. First one right here on our green couch.
Hi, guys. I'm super excited for the show. So you said earlier that the show is very character-driven. And with that, how did you two emotionally prepare for the role? And specifically to Danny, how is it compared to with your other cop shows, for preparation?
Oh, very cool. What's your name?
Nettie.
Hi, Nettie.
Hi.
Thank you for the question. Do you want to answer?
Neti pot. Do you ever
God.
So you
All the time.
Yeah, you immediately get a nickname.
Oh,
Great.
great girl. Nettie, hey, Neti pot. What's up, girl?
What up?
Well, for me, Kick was a humongous undertaking because she's of her history. Was abducted by Mel, who was a psychopath and predator as a child, and then she's rescued by the FBI, and and that's not the end of the story. She has to deal with a lifetime of emotional and psychological consequences of that, and that was really unfamiliar to me, that level of trauma. So I did a lot of work on the PTSD and the memories and the specificity of her life and her, just details of what happened and what she saw and how it made her feel and how it makes her feel now, and how has she coped in different ways from then to now, drugs and alcohol and promiscuity to now being super straight, and we're trying to keep everything under control, which has almost gone too far also because she's shielding herself from human contact really in the beginning, and James is her only friend and she doesn't really have a relationship with her mom, so she's sort of on an island in the beginning, and then the FBI comes in and sort of invites her on this call to adventure to open herself up again and face these fears that are holding her back so much. And so in my own life, Kick really taught me how to survive because I was going through something really traumatic myself at the time. And she just kept saying, do it scared, do it scared, do it scared. That's what Frank said to her, and that was her motto through the whole show. So, and that's now my motto. So I'm scared as hell right now, but here I am doing it.
Oh man, you know what makes John Bishop, you know, unique for me. You know, I think the character is hiding a lot. You know, he suffered trauma that I won't get into now because you need to watch the show. You know, he's the kind of guy who conceals a lot, right? You don't know what he's been through at face value. He's not gonna demonstrate that, and he's spent a lifetime covering it up. He has spent a lifetime mastering how to look like this did not happen to him, right? And so when it is revealed, when that coin drops, the revelation is so impactful, certainly to him, to realize that he's been exposed, and hopefully for an audience watching it. Chelsea Kane described John Bishop in her novel, and it was probably one of those things that made me think I had to play this guy. And she described him as having coiled calm, which means he's spring-loaded. He's ready to react. He's ready at any moment to, you know, lash out. But he's not going to show you that, right? And to me, that was enough to be like, why? First of all, why is he coiled, right? And why does he feel a need to portray it as being calm, right? And that is all revealed through this relationship. Like, if John Bishop wasn't in her life, there were a lot of things that she wouldn't necessarily need to face, and she holds a mirror to him and forces him. She's the catalyst for his change.
It's a great question. Thank you. We've got one
NP.
more. We're gonna do one more. Oh, well, hello, right over
Hello.
here. Go for
Hi.
it.
Hello.
This is for Leven. I loved Lost Child.
Yeah,
and
so did I.
Amazing.
Fantastic.
Premiere.
I did. She was fantastic.
And I read articles about it, and I know it was a passion project of yours. Do you plan on making any more passion projects? If not, I'd love to hear about the process of like how your craft and how you come up with these passion projects of yours.
Well, Gone is a passion project for me. This was not, you know, the most obvious choice for me, and could have done a few other things, but I was like, I don't care if this ever airs in anywhere. I need this material, and I need to tell this story, and I am, you know, I need to be her for some reason. So I don't really do anything unless it's a passion project at this point. I'm very blessed to have that, but I've worked really hard and done a lot of crap that I still get paid for to be able to afford myself that. And, you know, if it's not, I sort of made a decision to, you know, if it's not like meaningful and it's not impacting people like you that are watching it that move something in you, I shouldn't really be doing it, because there's plenty of like frivolousness in the world. Is that a word? I always ask him, is that a word?
I know the word very well. Frivolousness is
so
a
it
word.
is.
I believe it
I
could be
always
as well,
I always
yeah.
fact check here because I'm whatever. But so now I only, you know, choose projects unless they're that. And now I write my own projects. I wrote my own show, which is because I looked at the writing of this kinds of things and what it sparked in me, and I was like, I think I can. I am enough. I can do it, and I did do it, and I got it sold. So that will be coming out next year at some point. But yeah, my craft is really important to me. I think, you know, I'm lucky enough to do this, and I take it very seriously because it's my one life, and it's like if I'm not taking it seriously, I'm not like doing anything. So does that make sense?
Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
That was another great question as well. Thank you for that, and thank you guys for being such a great audience. I'm getting the
thank you,
signal. We're
guys.
going to wrap things up here, but people will get to see this. People are going to see this. The time is nigh. Wednesday, WGN America, 9 p.m. It is here. It is happening.
The time is 9.
The time
also.
is
Comes on
9.
at 9.
Oh my gosh.
8 Central.
How lucky is that?
The
9,
time
8
is
Central.
9.
It is 9 and 9. That was
But it ruins it when it's 8 Central. You know?
well.
Because it's
Can't blame them. They didn't. I mean, we didn't.
We love you, Central.
We
Love you guys. I'm from
Big ups to
Texas.
Central.
Big up to
Big ups.
Houston.
Yeah.
I want to thank you guys so much for being here, and I had a blast with you, hanging out with you.
Yay.
It was great to have you back on the show again. We didn't even get to talk about. You got so many other things going on. You're going to be in the dirt.
The Dirt,
You're
Motley
incredible on One Day at a Time right now.
Oh,
There's
thank
so
you.
many good
So
things
much
that are going on. You're wonderful people. You do wonderful things. Thank
you.
you.
Are too.
Oh, stop.
And so are all of you guys.
Thank you.
so
Thanks for
sweet.
having us.
Thank you
Guys,
for
really
coming.
This has
appreciate
been the
you.
best. You know what?
Yeah.
There's only one way to end it. Make
Should
a
we cry?
ridiculous amount of noise. Come on.
Thank you.
Leven Rambin and Danny Pino right here. Let's go.